Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm Jennifer.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Andrea.
And we are not saints.
We're not saints.
We're not. We want to be.
That was our harmony.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, today I'm going to introduce you to one of my besties, and I'm so honored she's our first guest on our show. And this is Betsy Murphy. I know her as Betsy Blankenbaker Murphy. I've known her since I was in high school. Actually, a little bit before, maybe middle school. But she is one of my biggest cheerleaders, my closest friends. We share a close journey together, and I just love her, and I'm probably talking too much, but here's Betsy.
Hi, everybody.
And we all love Betsy.
We do.
She is a good friend.
I'm not a saint either.
But she's trying. We're all trying. But today we are talking about Saint Joan of Arc. And what does she represent? Courage. And what is it to be courageous today? It's a big word.
It is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to be courageous in today's world, as it was. Her world was a lot more violence then. I mean, they fought with swords and arrows, and the 100-Year War when she was a child that's a long time to, like 3 generations of war in your country. You'd kind of get accustomed to it, even if you were courageous.
I never even thought about that.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, she also grew up very poor. She was the daughter of a peasant farmer and uneducated.
Yeah.
But she learned through repetition. So even like scripture, she learned through listening.
Well, I think here we're so blessed. I mean, we don't have wars in any of our lifetimes or our parents, so we don't know what it would be like.
On
in
our
a
soil,
war-torn
right.
country.
On our soil.
Yeah.
Everybody would be poor because there wouldn't be any farmland. It'd be difficult. And there wasn't like a Costco to go buy your food either.
Stock up.
You had to raise everything, and yeah.
Yeah, I think the closest we got to understanding that was when everyone was racing to the stores to buy toilet paper, and there was none.
Yeah, I think.
Socks became our best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. We think being courageous is simple things like when you run out of potato chips, you could do without them tonight. It's not really courageous
Yes, and
compared.
being courageous when it's easy to be courageous, I think it loses its value a little bit. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, practicing any virtue when it's easy is okay. It's easy to be loving when it's made easy for you, or it's easy to be courageous when it's made easy for you. But it's how you represent it or how you exemplify it whenever it's hard or whenever nobody's looking. And what's the word? Whenever you're the same person when nobody's looking.
What is the word?
What is the word you're looking
The
for?
word I was searching for starts with an I. Integrity. Okay. That's what All right. Sorry for that clap.
No. That's it. So let's talk a little bit more about Joan, Saint Joan of Arc. And at a young age, she was in the fields. And the first time, it was just a voice she heard who said, be virtuous and go to church.
Right.
I think that was
And pray.
And pray.
Go to church and pray.
Right.
Yeah.
And be a virgin.
Right.
Which, do they say that to the male saints too?
Good question.
Because I'm wondering, every time I'm reading about like the female saints, it's like, you better be a virgin. But are they as stern with the men? I don't know.
Okay, we're going to have to look that up. What's
Yeah.
that thing called that we're going to look up later? That you were going to go, do. Facts. We're going to look up facts.
Fact check.
Fact check.
Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, she heard these voices and she was inspired to, I guess, follow them. She heard from the Archangel Michael
The second time.
the second time. And then who else did she hear from?
The last time, not the last time before she went to war, right?
Well, Michael was the one, imagine, first you hear go to church, easy, you're 12, 13, stay a virgin, easy at that age. And then the next one is St. Michael coming and saying, save France. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Prepare for war.
Lead the army of France.
Yeah.
And
Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. And St. Catherine and St. Margaret
Right.
were with her. And St. Margaret was her favorite saint at that time, who she used to speak to.
Yeah. And this is what I love about Joan, because we always think about, we hear from God, or we listen for Mother Mary. And with her, it was, she was hearing God and having these visions, but it was also these saints talking to her as well. And I love that she listened.
And being so young and listened. And even when she went to her parents, and she had to tell her mom and her dad, and her mom kind of left, didn't she, the first time? Mom said,
Right.
And she went. I mean, was she 15 or 17, guys?
I want to say
She was
15.
19 when she died, but
yeah.
15
Yeah,
was-
I think she was 17 when she led the army, I believe.
Right. And, during that time, so she was told, go to, one of the generals in the army and tell them that you've been told you had a vision from a saint to save France. And at the time, they dismissed her. And then when France came in and actually, the English came in and actually did, took over the area that she had warned them about, then they were like, okay, we're going to listen to her. And then the same thing, she had to go to Charles, who at the time, he would be the future. She was actually told, go to Charles, tell him he's going to be the future king of France.
Yeah.
And when she she cut her hair to be part of the army, to look like a boy.
Right.
And
she dressed like a boy.
Yeah, dressed like a boy.
Against the rules.
Yeah, exactly. And that was against the rules, in religion.
Right, both biblically and at that time period.
Right. And in her trial, that was one of the first things that the trial was against her dressing like a boy.
Yeah.
But she had to go to this, future king of France and say, I'm here to save France, and you need to do what I tell you. And at first he didn't believe her either.
Did you see or hear in all of your studies, which I thought was funny, is that Charles knew that this young girl was coming to warn him.
The prophecy.
Yeah, it was a prophecy, yeah.
And he had another man, one of his soldiers, dress up as him, and then he was the soldier. And was it Saint Michael who told her when she got in that that's not the king, and she was led right to the
He was just amongst
soldier,
the crowd.
Who was dressed
as a...
the king.
Yeah. They were constantly not believing her and constantly testing her, constantly.
Right.
And
they
she
sent her away at first.
Yeah.
Whenever she came to them and tried.
Yeah,
to...
constantly evaluating her test, and she just kept believing in herself. But one thing that came up during the trial was she said, I was scared, but she believed in what she was being told, that calling. And I love that for us, because it's enough to say, like, I've been called to do this. I'm not going to be scared. I'm like, no, trying anything new or following that, that gut feeling, following your heart, it can be scary. But she did it anyway as this, young girl.
One of the analogies that I heard was when you're driving down the road and you can't see past the headlights, but you keep driving anyway. And just imagine driving at night. It's pitch black, and all you can see in front of you are as far as your headlights reach. So driving beyond the headlights, or seeing beyond the headlights, even though you have no idea what you're going into.
Yeah.
And
I also loved the general who didn't believe this young girl could lead, and she wanted to stop on the way to warn Charles in a church. And he said, we do not have time to stop in a church. She said, I'm stopping in the church. So she stopped and started digging in front of the altar, and that's where she found her sword. And she was led to
very
that.
shiny with crystals on it.
I think they were jewels, honey.
Jewels. Crystally jewels.
Bejeweled.
There was also a moment during the war when, they were following her, the guidance that she got, and came to a point she didn't know what to do. The English are there getting ready to overtake them. And so she retreated to nature nearby, and then just sat and meditated until she got her message. And I love that for myself. Anytime like you're feeling like, I'm feeling under pressure, I don't know what to do. I'm like, we always feel this need of like, I have to act right now. And instead it's like, retreat, go to nature.
Yeah.
You can go to your sanctuary. It can be in a church. It can be in nature, and you will hear the answer.
That's
Right.
the truth.
Right.
Amen.
That's why God sometimes doesn't speak very loudly. You just have to listen very carefully,
Yeah.
and you'll get the answer.
Quietly.
can I share what happened with me before my son Charlie died? Because
course.
I feel like Saint Joan of Arc like was stalking me, and I wasn't even paying attention. But now I realize like she was really showing up to fortify me. So my son Charlie died in July of 2022, which was 4 months after your son James died, and unexpected, and he died in July. In April that year, for some reason, I felt called to go on this, it's not like a big calling. Go to Paris, get on a boat on the Seine River, on a yacht, and go down the Seine River. So, like, this wasn't like a spiritual calling necessarily, but unexpectedly, one of the stops was in Rouen, France, which is where her trial was held and where she was burned alive. I had no idea about that before this trip. So I read about it, and so I knew it was coming up. And so on, day 5 of the trip, I got off the boat in Rouen, and I thought, I'm going to go to this great museum they have about her and church there, and then I'm going to go find the place where she was burned. I got off the boat, and I realized I left my the map of where to go. So I was like, well, I don't have time to go back on the boat to get it. So I was just like, okay, I'll just trust, I'm led. So I go to the museum, and it was powerful to just hear everything about her life. And actually they have the words being spoken during the trial, which
Wow.
powerful. And then afterwards I thought, well, I was had a reservation at the French restaurant, famous French restaurant, where Julia Childs learned how to cook. And so I was like, well, I know I need to be there, but I really want to find, where she was burned. And so I just kept walking, and finally I just sat down on a bench, and I was like trying to meditate like Joan would. And I get up and I turn around, and right behind me, in the midst of this like bunch of yellow flowers, is a tiny, tiny plaque. And it's where Joan had been burned. They just have a tiny plaque there, but it was so peaceful. But I had just been sitting, that's where I'd been meditating. And what I, as painful as her, her death was, I felt like there was so much peace there. And what happened when she died was they took her ashes and they threw them in the Seine River because they didn't want anybody to, kind of martyrize her. And then, I continued on that river. So that river feels very extra sacred to me. And I did the same when my son Charlie died, took his ashes to the Ganges River in India.
I know.
But yeah, I felt, but she was really, I felt supported by God and Mother Mary and you, my other saint. But I realized like Joan was showing up for me to hear more of Charlie's story, that when you're told your son has an accidental overdose, that is one tiny part of the story, and it's not the full truth of the story. And I felt like Joan was really asking me to listen deeper to Charlie's voice and the courage he had to live through some really hard things during his 27 years of life.
That's beautiful, Betsy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Now I'm going to think of you, Joan, and sweet Charlie.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you,
Oh, it's
Betsy. I'm
beautiful.
sure that's not an easy story to tell, but we appreciate it. And I'm sure it was very emotional. Recently we had not similar to that, but we went to St. John's, Indiana, where they have the Stations of the Cross. And it was very powerful for me anyway. I mean, I was almost speechless the whole time. It was just almost overwhelming.
Watching
So,
Jesus carry the cross.
Yeah. Yeah, I told, we went with our Father Stephen, and he and I were kind of walking together, but not really talking. And I told him, I said, when we came to Jesus, struggling with the cross and the sculpture, I said, I just feel like I need to just grab it and help him. It was that powerful. So
It's wonderful how places can be powerful and reach us in our heart spaces. And,
Yeah.
and I do think it's God, Saint Joan of Arc, Mother Mary, talking to us. Just so important for us to listen if we can. Be courageous enough to listen.
Yeah, well, which is why I love what you're doing with this podcast, because we know so much about, communicating with God and Mother Mary, but the saints can support us during different times in our life. And so we never, most of us don't think of like, when I'm needing courage to reach out to Joan, or is there another saint that's showing up for you? Even at the end of Charlie's life, in the month before he died, he was telling me about Saint Raphael, Gabriel, and Ezekiel showing up and communicating with him. So I just think that we need to make space to listen to these saints, and so that's why this podcast is very important. They're going to be educating us and sharing a sainted episode.
We hope so.
Conventionally.
Saint on the street.
Yeah, Saint on the street.
The saints on the streets.
We're doing our best.
Yeah. But listening and hearing their stories, it does give you something to, I guess, strengthen you on your own journey. And hearing your calling at any point in your life is tricky, because it's like when you're young and you hear your calling, having the courage to pursue it, or having the means to pursue it at that young age, getting your parents to believe you so that you can then do the thing that you're being called to do. That's one part of it. And then when you're older and you feel like, oh, that can't be my calling. I'm too far into life, or I've done too much wrong to even pursue this thing, or you can talk yourself out of it because you've seen more of life and you've been let down, or whatever it is. And then you're in between younger and older parts of your life, you're kind of like, it's all mixed up. But I think if you have the courage to pursue these things, no matter the cost, no matter the negative talk in your head, then you could really make a difference. And you could be like right there, right on the cusp of something. And you just have to have that one little push that gets you to the other side. And that's what she's exemplifying in this story. And it's inspiring to others. Your story came from that. And I also think of my brother when I was reading this. He went through Ranger School a couple of times, and it's hard enough the first time around. But he also, even before Ranger School, long before that, when he was 13 or even younger,
8.
Yeah. And he felt this connection and call to like be in the military. And then he pursued military school, military summer camp, and then military school. And our whole family moved from one state to the other to follow him on that dream and on that voice that he was hearing. And it's amazing. I think I'm always a little bit like, am I hearing the voice? Like, what's my calling? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? And so if you haven't heard it yet, then just be patient and practice that virtue while you're waiting to hear what you're supposed to do. But sorry.
I love that. I mean, especially because you're probably hearing Joan's voice a lot, telling you what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's either Andrea or Mike.
It's either Jesus or Jennifer.
In the best possible way.
Tinge that I'm hearing in the voice.
Yeah. Is there a saint right now that's like speaking to you right now, or?
Saint Monica and Saint Rita, they were definitely a big part of my journey, like recently. But I did pray, and I lit this Joan of Arc candle when I first was going through a hard time in my own life. And talk about like not having the means to do what you need to do, or having the real like clear picture of what life looks like, having a little one relying on you. Whenever you go through a tough time, sometimes it's just you. But when you're a parent, it's like the weight of the world is on you. So I did pray this prayer, the Joan of Arc prayer, while I was going through a hard time for myself. And that was really helpful to just continue to believe and hold on to that hope. And Jen's book really helped me. I was like crying in bed reading it, and I haven't cried in a while. I don't cry a lot, but when I do, it's depressing.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be depressing.
No, sorry. It was hopeful. It gave me hope. And it's like you can go through all of these tragedies and still hold on to something is going to, be good or come from it that's good, or just keep going and keep trying to spread positivity. And in this case with Joan of Arc, she's continuing going despite being told no, despite being a woman in the, 1400s? Yikes.
14, yeah.
Yeah.
And young.
Yeah, so being so young. And that's like the part I'm thinking of. Like, there's people even today, like my brother, who,
Followed his dream.
solely followed it.
And Saint
despite-
Michael was and still is his saint.
Yeah. And, with Saint Rita and Saint Monica, just like continuing to believe even in the face of the negative that was all around them.
Something I found interesting that we haven't touched on, Joan was told that the way that they did battle at that time, mostly they dressed in heavy armor and they swung swords at each other and they rode horsebacks. Well, they were getting beat because the armies they were fighting were starting to use bow and arrows. But the leaders of the army was so stubborn, they didn't do it that way. And she convinced them that she even snuck in at nighttime to observe the fort and find the weak points. And they went in and attacked from that point and took ladders and climbed over the wall and then got inside and defeated them that way. I thought that was kind of interesting. It's like a new technique that helped them win.
And they listened to her.
And they ended up listening to her, yeah. Because they'd been losing, they were actually starting to lose ground quickly. They were like one city away from it being over, and that would have been the end of the French. And which was also interesting, there was a lot of the Catholic faith was there.
Right.
Basically, the Catholics would have been defeated and might have changed history. That's probably why God intervened and sent St. Michael to help Joan, because the Catholics may have been defeated. And we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important that, it was like, why Joan? Why not somebody in the army? Why not Charles? And I just think it speaks to the power of faith and belief. And also with Joan, I see this among many people that are are following their dream. They're entrepreneurs. They're young and trying to make their way in the world. And you can feel really unseen and unheard. And so here's this young girl that relied on meditation and being in nature. Like that's what she, going to the sanctuary, meditating, being in nature. So I don't think enough of us spend enough time, and I'm talking about me, in nature. And I really need to get back to nature is what's coming through for me right now.
I love it. Well, it's also her complete, absolute trust in God. If we all could do that, to sit in the silence, be it in nature, be it in the church. I just find comfort in the church. I love being in church.
Yeah.
I told Father, if I could just have a pillow and sleep in the pews, I'd be really happy. But he says no. So, but I get it in the nature. But it's listening. If we can get to that quiet space within, it's amazing what you can hear.
Well,
I
that
do
makes
think
me
that.
think too, we've talked about, because when I hunt, a lot of times I hunt in an elevated tree stand, and you're by yourself and you can't really move and you can't say anything. You just sit there, and it's
Can't open your phone.
you can't have a phone. You just sit there in total silence. You watch the wildlife go by and squirrels and birds, and it's very peaceful. And I think I've never really thought that I was, but I was meditating then. I've done it most of my life, since I was a teenager.
And he has
It's very
hunting
peaceful.
withdrawal, so it's really important for him to get in that stand.
Yeah.
But he needs to bring home some deer. As he's gotten old, he doesn't like to actually hunt.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like the killing as much as I used to when I
Right.
was younger. I think
Right.
everybody goes through that in stages, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Hunting with Mike coming up next. But yeah, like meditation is another thing that comes from the story too, and it's really important to sit and be quiet and be at peace and try to connect with that voice. I have never meditated in my life.
Is your inner voice still too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I was your age, it was. I think the 30s are the hardest way to be.
I know. Like, I can't sit still. I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
That's poor grammar, but
Do you
get
remember
what I
that?
mean.
Like that voice that was just, that was really strong in my 30s. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
for everybody, but I remember that inner voice.
Well, especially now in 2025, it's just a noisy world. And I was just saying this to my mom yesterday that I'm glad I grew up in the came of age in the 70s because it was just less noisy.
Right.
And I did daydream a lot and spend a lot of time in nature in those days. And the other thing, this is reminding me of like, pay attention to what our children are saying. Like my two young grandchildren who are 7 and 8 are constantly bringing, especially after their dad, Charlie, died, my son, saying things that are like, how do they know that? And, if Joan was 12 and 13, bringing these, visions to her parents, let's pay attention because our kids are really connected to their intuition. And sometime along the way, sometimes we stop listening. And I think we need to really pay attention to.
I just got covered in what I call my God bumps. So I do think there's some truth
Yeah.
there. That is lovely.
Well, part of me just wants to throw my phone out the window or my phones out the window because I think that's a big part of it. I have, my jobs that are in-person jobs, and then we've got our social media, and then there's another social media account that I work with. But when your job is to be on your phone all the time, it's like, when do you find that time to disconnect? I think I have to give like a notice to all of my bosses, like, okay, I'm not going to have my phones for a week and see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah.
See if that silences things.
Well, you're definitely juggling a lot, mom, work,
School.
son, school. Yeah. And can you
disconnect? Like, I just don't. I wish I could go like a week without technology and just see what happens.
Let's take the challenge.
Yeah, should we go to Shipshawana and live with the Amish people?
That's a good idea.
But yeah, okay, we'll take
I
the
say
challenge.
we go on a hunting trip.
Okay, we go on a hunting trip.
Jen and I say we go to a spa.
I can drop
meditate in
you
the
guys
spa.
off at the spa while I'm going hunning.
Exactly.
gosh.
Exactly.
But I'd also want to document the day, so then I'd be like, wait, we gotta record this, and then I'll be like,
We'll get you a GoPro.
right,
You just wear
oh,
it.
perfect, and maybe a hat with little spinner on top too,
Yeah.
just for fun.
So we can look at it.
Yeah.
I actually do get a lot of great ideas when I get massages because like my body calms down enough and that I'm thinking like I could be able to write these off as a tax deduction because I really do start getting some things to write about and good ideas because my body and mind just finally slow down a lot. I have called Jen before and she's on a massage table and she has answered the phone, so I'm not too sure if you disconnected.
Or the bathtub. She's in the
Bathtub,
bathtub
yeah.
half the time when I call her.
But you do have your sanctuary time more than anybody that I know.
Well, you're
Yeah.
very kind. But I do talk on during my massage. I get things done.
Yeah. So yeah, we should take that challenge to disconnect and see what happens.
Yes.
Be easy for me.
Yeah.
But
Mike's
I
like,
can.
great, that's a
when you
regular
were talking
Tuesday.
about your job, when I was still working,
Yeah.
I did all my business calls while I was working. And it was very stressful trying to concentrate on what I'm doing with my hands and listening to somebody tell me what they needed and then remember it. And many times I would hang up the phone and I couldn't remember who I was talking to.
Multitasking
So
and
I'd
Mike.
have to redial them. Who is this?
Why did you call? What am I supposed to
Well,
do?
we really aren't built for multitasking. And I think some of the best times are when I'm able to like just leave everything behind.
I think
and just
women
be.
are better at it than men.
They are
Men
better
very
at it.
That's just not what we're
Yeah.
made for. That's what I always tell her. Just give me one thing, and when I'm finished with that one, you can give me 10 more.
I know.
But I'm only going to do the first one.
Right. One at a time.
Well, I think that we have had some amazing discussions today, Betsy. I'm so glad you joined us.
Thanks
And,
again, Betsy.
It was
Loved
a
having you.
beautiful journey. I loved that Betsy was able to share with us. But let's all try to be courageous this week. Let's try to sit in silence. Just sit in silence. You don't have to listen. Just get to that quiet space. I always feel it in my heart. Whatever those words are that are coming, they're here. So I just wish everyone could get there in time. Thanks so
great.
much for joining us. We're not saints, but we sure want to be.
And we're trying.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of We're Not Saints. For more of the We're Not Saints shenanigans and behind-the-scenes content, you can follow us on Instagram at We're Not Saints 1. That's We're Not Saints 1, without the apostrophe. And be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. We'd also love to hear from you. So leave us a comment or a review, or contact us by email at we'reNotSaints1@gmail.com.
And if you'd like to have a great companion to your weekly saint studies with us, you can purchase a copy of my books. Are You There, Mary? How to Resurrect in Love After Loss, or Finding Love in the Confessional on Amazon, available as a Kindle version or paperback.
All these links will be provided in the description of this episode. And don't forget to tune in next Wednesday for our weekly dose of saints. God bless you.
Should you read it again with more intonation?
No.
It was very Mike.